Dukheshva anudvigna manaha. Sukheshu vigata spraha. Vita raga bhaya krodha. Sthita dhir muniruchyate. Dukheshvanudvigna manaha. Sukheshu vigata spraha. Vita raga bhaya krodha. Sthita dhir muniruchyate. Dukheshvanudvigna manaha. Sukheshu vigata spriha. Vita raga bhaya krodha. Sthita dhir muniruchyate. Would anyone else like to recite the verse? Dukheshvanudvigna manaha. Sukheshu vigata spraha. Vita raga bhaya krodha. Sthita dhir muniruchyate. Anyone else? Dukheshu anudvigna manaha. Sukheshu vigata spraha. Vita raga bhaya krodha. Sthita dhir muniruchyate. Anyone else? Lucky lost. Dukheshu anudvigna manaha. Sukheshu vigata spriha. Vita raga bhaya krodha. Sthita dhir muniruchyate. So word-to-word meaning, dukheshu, in the threefold miseries. Anudvigna manaha, without being agitated in mind. Sukheshu, in happiness. Vigata spriha, without being interested. Vita, free from. Raga, attachment. Bhaya, fear. Krodha, and anger. Sthita dhi, whose mind is steady. Munihi, a sage. Uchyate, is called. So translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. One who is not disturbed in mind even amidst the threefold miseries, or elated when there is happiness, and who is free from attachment, fear and anger, is called a sage of steady mind. Purport. The word Muni means one who can agitate his mind in various ways for mental speculation without coming to a factual conclusion. It is said that every Muni has a different angle of vision, and unless a Muni differs from other Munis, he cannot be called a Muni in the strict sense of the term. Nasa vrishir yasya matam na bhinnam. Mahabharat Vanaparva. But a Sthitadhir Muni, as mentioned herein by the Lord, is different from an ordinary Muni. The Sthitadhir Muni is always in Krishna consciousness, for he has exhausted all his business of creative speculation. He is called Prasthana Nihesha Mano Rathanantaha, Stota Ratna 43, or one who has surpassed the stage of mental speculations and has come to the conclusion that Lord Sri Krishna or Vasudev is everything. Vasudeva Sarvamiti Sa Mahatma Sudurlabha. He is called Muni, fixed in mind. Such a fully Krishna conscious person is not at all disturbed by the onslaughts of the threefold miseries, for he accepts all miseries as the mercy of the Lord, thinking himself only worthy of more trouble due to his past misdeeds. And he sees that his miseries, by the grace of the Lord, are minimized to the lowest. Similarly, when he is happy, he gives credit to the Lord, thinking himself unworthy of the happiness. He realizes that it is due only to the Lord's grace that he is in such a comfortable condition and able to render better service to the Lord. And for the service of the Lord, he is always daring and active and is not influenced by attachment or aversion. Attachment means accepting things for one's own sense gratification, and detachment is the absence of such sensual enjoyment. But one fixed in Krishna consciousness has neither attachment nor detachment because his life is dedicated in the service of the Lord. Consequently, he is not at all angry, even when attempts are unsuccessful. Success or no success, a Krishna conscious person is always steady in his determination. ओम अज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपकदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च। श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सगुणरघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपादान् सहगणा ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च। हे कृष्णा करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधो जगतपते गोपेश गोपिका कांता राधा कांत नमोस्तुते। तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। वाञ्छा कल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्यैव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। मूकं करोति वाचालं पंगुं लांघयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरुं दीनतारणं। नमो विष्णुपदाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामिनिति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वती देवी गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देश तारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे. So Hare Krishna everybody. This is a famous verse from Bhagavad Gita, second chapter. So it's right in the beginning of Bhagavad Gita. And actually, the reason this verse is quite famous is because at this point, Arjuna asks Krishna, he says that how can I recognize a Sthita Dhir Muni? So he asks Sthita Pragya ka bhasha, and he asks how can I recognize a person whose mind is fixed in devotional service? So, like for example, it is possible that on the external, many people can show that they are good devotees. Like they may wear tilak, they may wear kantimala, they may do chanting of Hare Krishna, etc. But what's going on in the heart is a different matter. So sometimes it may be possible that one does not know how to understand whether someone is a pure devotee or not. Now, why do we want to identify whether someone is a pure devotee or not? Are we interested in discriminating between people? In one sense, yes, because we need to know whose association we should take and to whom we should give association. Because the problem is, if we associate with cheaters, then we will also become cheaters. If we associate with Muni, we will become a Muni ourselves. So, association has a lot of power. That's why we have to be very careful with whom we associate. So, one of the characteristics of a pure devotee of the Lord is that he becomes a Sthita Dhir Muni. Sthita Dhir Muni means what we discussed in this verse. So I'll read the translation once more, just so that you can understand what this is talking about. One who is not disturbed in mind, even amidst the threefold miseries, or elated when there is happiness, and who is free from all attachment, fear, and anger, is called a sage of steady mind. So you can see here, Krishna is not describing a pure devotee by the number of rounds he chants or the amount of tapasya he does. Like for example, yesterday I don't know how many of you observed, but yesterday was Nirjala Ekadashi. So many people observe Nirjala Ekadashi, they're able to fast Nirjala completely throughout. So some people, they misunderstand that if someone is able to fast completely on Nirjala Ekadashi, I'm not saying it's a bad thing, it's definitely a very good thing. But the misconception is that the greater the devotee, the more he'll be able to fast. Some people have that misconception. But actually, that's not entirely true, because some person may not be able to fast because of health reasons, or some people may not have a body suitable for fasting. Like, for example, in the Mahabharata, if you look at the Pandavas, there was one Pandava who was never able to keep any Ekadashi. Does anyone know who that was? Bhima, obviously, yeah. So Bhima could not keep an Ekadashi Vrata at all. So that is why he was given the allowance that if he observes this one Nirjal Ekadashi, this Ekadashi as a Nirjal fast, that will be equivalent to performing all other Ekadashis. So now, interestingly enough, if you look at Mahabharata, I mean, we shouldn't be comparing devotees, but Madhvacharya makes the analysis that among all of the Pandavas, the most pure Pandava was Bhima, he says. Even though he was not able to keep Ekadashi, the other Pandavas were able to keep Ekadashi. He says that the most pure Pandava was Bhima. Now he makes a comparison. He says that why not Yudhishthir? Yudhishthir followed dharma throughout his life. But Yudhishthir in the battlefield, he questioned the orders of Krishna. So I'm sure all of you know the incident where Krishna asks Yudhishthira to lie in the battlefield. So then at that time he hesitates and he does not lie actually. And he says, Krishna asks him to say that Ashwathama is dead. But Yudhishthira is waiting for an opportunity and he sees that, oh, Ashwathama, the elephant has died. So I will say that. I have said, so then he says that Ashwathama, the elephant has died. So in one sense, he spoke truth. But actually, Krishna had given him the order to lie. So actually, he was meant to lie in that case. But he didn't lie. So Madhvacharya points out that Yudhishthir was so attached to dharma that he could even betray the orders of the Lord. He could deviate from the orders of the Lord. So that's why he says that he was technically not the purest devotee. Then the next question, why not Arjuna? So then the answer is that the way Madhvacharya explains it is, if you look at the whole Bhagavad Gita, why was Bhagavad Gita spoken? Bhagavad Gita was spoken because Arjuna was confused about his duty and he was questioning the orders of Krishna. Now Krishna had ordered him to fight in the battlefield and Arjuna was questioning whether or not I should fight. So he gives like 5 different arguments to Krishna and he says that, I should not fight because of blah, 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 etc. He gives like his whole list of reasons. So then Krishna speaks 17 chapters of Bhagavad Gita trying to convince him that he should fight. So Madhvacharya points out that if Bhima was there, he would not question at all. In fact, in the Mahabharata, we see there's no incident where Krishna has given an order to Bhima and Bhima has refused the order of Krishna. He has always he has always accepted the orders of Krishna and acted according to his desire. So much so that you will see that Krishna, because Arjuna was not fighting, Krishna had to make sure that his son is also killed on the battlefield. So we see that, what's his name? Abhimanyu is killed very brutally and mercilessly on the battlefield. And that's when Arjuna becomes a little more incited to fight. So even after Krishna had convinced him with the knowledge of Bhagavad Gita, still he was not fighting. Whereas Bhima, on the other hand, he was fighting with his full force from the beginning till the end. It didn't matter to him whether his child died. Like we know that his child died. What was his child's name? Ghatotkaksha. Ghatotkaksha died. But it's not seen that Bhima expresses any sorrow over that. And then his grandchild also dies. I think Barbarik was his grandchild. Yeah, he also died. But still, Bhima does not show any signs of aggression. Yeah, he does not either increase his aggression or decrease. He was, according to Madhvacharya, the most perfect Sthita Dhir Muni. He was the most perfect devotee because he was not affected by external circumstances and he was not bewildered by any loss or gain, etc. Arjuna is questioning, like what will we gain if we kill our relatives? He was more interested in loss and gain. But Bhima was not interested in any of that. So that is why it is important to see that. So that's why sometimes closeness to the Lord is not always a sign that the person may be a close devotee or pure devotee. Sometimes the person who is away from the Lord may be a pure devotee also. External things, external circumstances are very difficult to judge just based on external circumstances. It may be very difficult to judge whether someone is a pure devotee or not. So the way we judge whether someone is a pure devotee is by the characteristics given in this verse. So the first one is one who is not disturbed in mind even amidst the threefold miseries. What are the threefold miseries? Does anyone know what are the threefold miseries? Why is it called threefold miseries? And Adi Atmik. Yes. So Adi Devik, Adi Bhautik, and Adi Atmik. So Adi Devik means the miseries which are given to us by the demigods. So by nature, you could say, like storms, like now cold is there. After some months, you will have, actually in few days, you're going to have rain. In some months, we'll have summer. We see there are certain types of people who are not satisfied in any weather. Like if it is cold, they'll complain it's too cold. If it's hot, they'll complain it's too hot. If it's raining, they'll complain it's raining. If it's not raining, they'll complain, why is it not raining? Hasn't rained in so long. So there are some people who are never satisfied with any kind of weather. Whereas the pure devotee of the Lord, he doesn't care about any of this. In fact, whatever happens, he is happy that Krishna's will is being fulfilled in one sense. So he becomes happy with that. So those things are known as the Adi Devik. So sometimes the Adi Devik include things like tsunamis and earthquakes and thunder strikes, all of these things, natural calamities, bushfires, these are all Adi Devik miseries. So over these, we have no control. I mean, I know in China, they're trying to like create cloud repellents where like they can repel cyclone storms and stuff. And when we were in Bali, they were saying that they can also do what is it called? Rain repellents, rain stoppers. Yeah, so if it's raining, you can do some yagya so that you can get rid of the rain. Like if you have an important function happening, you can do all of that. So yeah, all of that is there. So people cannot accept Arabic miseries. They want to modify nature also, but it doesn't always work. And in fact, the more we modify nature, the worse it comes back and bites. So Adi Devik miseries are difficult to control. So a devotee should be steady in Adi Devik miseries also. So then there is the next one, which is Adi Bhautik miseries. Adi Bhautik miseries are miseries which are caused by our own or by other living entities. So other living entities include like, let's say other people. Like you go to work, someone says something rude to you. You go to a cashier to buy your McDonald's and then the McDonald's says that, sorry, we've run out of ice cream, for example. Yeah, I heard that's a very, what I heard, it's always an issue. So I don't go, I've heard it. So that's why I'm saying it. So yeah, they always run out of ice cream. So people become a bit agitated. Oh, how come? Or they've planned a very nice trip to their favorite restaurant and then the restaurant is closed. That can be a bit of a problem. Or you're going out on the street and then some drunkard comes and drives into you from the back. Like, yeah, then your car is rammed by someone. So these are all kinds of Adi Bhautik miseries. So this includes things like diseases. Like, for example, like you go to India and you get cholera or you get coronavirus. Yeah, some people become disturbed by these also. But actually, a pure devotee is not disturbed by disease circumstances which happen to him. Because, as Srila Prabhupada points out in the verse, that the mercy of the Lord. Now we'll discuss how these are the mercy of the Lord, but I'll describe miseries to you first. Then the last one is Adhyatmic miseries. Adhyatmic miseries is miseries which are given to us by our own mind and our own intelligence. So when people become anxious about their job interview which is coming up in next 5 days, even though they've done all the preparation, still they're anxious. Yeah, or some about exams coming up. Some people are anxious about, oh, I didn't make my $3,000 cut. Yeah, I've only made $2,500 cut. Meanwhile, people are living without any money. Like, yeah, so all of these miseries are made by our own mind and our own intelligence. So these kinds of miseries are known as Adhyatmic miseries. So these are the threefold miseries described in the Vedas. You can see it's a very systematic approach to understanding how we are world. So now when someone says, oh, I don't have any miseries, you can point out that no, everyone suffers three kinds of miseries. Yeah. So when someone is suffering three kinds of miseries, how does a devotee stay peaceful and how does a devotee stay undisturbed? Now that's the $1 million question. How can we remain undisturbed? Nowadays, like in like the medical field, they say that anxiety and depression are the most common causes of morbidity, they say. So morbidity means like anything which disables people. So they're saying that anxiety and depression are the most common causes of making people disabled. Yeah, not allowing them to achieve their full potential. Now, why are people anxious and why are people so depressed? Well, one of the reasons is that people have lots of desires that they want to fulfill. And when they are unable to fulfill their desires, especially material desires, people become anxious. And the reason people have material desires is because they have a desire to enjoy those particular things. Like everyone can be satisfied in a house, in food, regular food, if they have shelter, if they have clothing, and if they have a vehicle to drive around. Like you can be satisfied everything. But the problem is mind asks for more and more and more. And then when you give in to your mind, then you may say, okay, well, I have a 3-bedroom house. Won't it be good if I have a 5-bedroom house? So then the person works hard to get a 5-bedroom house. Then when the 5-bedroom house is there, he wants to acquire a 7-bedroom house, or he wants to acquire a second house, third house. Car, not satisfied with car, I want bigger car, etc. like that. So everyone has these desires which keep on increasing and increasing. There's no limit to the desires. But the problem is we work for a certain number of hours. Our body cannot allow us to work for more than that. Plus, the other problem is we're getting old. And then there are all these miseries on top, like diseases. Then we can't achieve all our desires. And when we can't achieve our desires, we become anxious or may even become depressed if it goes beyond a certain point. Like, oh, how dare someone else beat me at my workplace? Like, I used to be number one employee, but now someone else is number one employee. So then we become envious of them also. So all these kinds of things are miseries which are there in our own mind, and they cause us a lot of agitation. And because of this, we cannot be happy. But the devotee is not interested in any of these things, because the devotee understands that whatever happens to him in his life happens according to his own past karma. So it doesn't mean that he doesn't endeavor too much. He doesn't endeavor at all. The only solution is that the devotee does not endeavor too much. He does not endeavor more than required. So what does the devotee do? The devotee's happiness lies in performing Krishna consciousness, or the devotee's happiness lies in serving Krishna. So the devotee is not extremely happy when he gets a $1,000 bonus at work. He may be happy, but he is not as happy as when he would be chanting the names of the Lord, or when he is reading about the pastimes of the Lord, or when he is preaching about the pastimes of the Lord. That gives him true happiness and true satisfaction. So that's the main thing, satisfaction. Satisfaction is something that can only come via devotional service. Happiness can come through material objects also, but the satisfaction of the soul, the Atmarama state, the Atmarama stage is only attained when we perform devotional service. So when we are becoming a devotee of the Lord, we're chanting his name, that gives a particular type of satisfaction that yes. So what is satisfaction? People actually don't know the meaning of satisfaction nowadays also. In fact, I remember there was a survey which was done of school kids, of high school kids, and of university kids. And they asked them this question, what is satisfaction? People did not know what is the meaning of satisfaction. Satisfaction actually means that once you obtain something, you have no desire to obtain anything else. That is what satisfaction is. It's the ultimate level of happiness. It's the ultimate level of bliss that one can get. That once you obtain something, you don't have the desire to obtain anything else. You're completely satisfied. You're completely happy, and you're completely pleased with what you have achieved. That stage is known as satisfaction. And that is promised by Krishna in Bhagavad Gita to one who performs devotional service. So that is why when one performs, his mind automatically becomes unattached and undisturbed. He is not disturbed by any external calamities, because he knows that whatever is happening by the will of the Lord, but my happiness lies somewhere else. Like one example I will give you is, let's say there is someone who is extremely attached to soccer. There's some soccer World Cup going on right now or something, I don't know. Yeah, some people at work, they were watching soccer, so I kind of know about it. But yeah, so there is some kind of soccer game happening, and that soccer game is meant to happen at 10 o'clock at night. Now this person has gone to work, okay? So when he's at work, what will he think about? He'll be thinking about the soccer match. What's going to happen in the soccer match? What's going to happen in the soccer match? Which team will win? How will I watch the match? That's all he's thinking. But while at work, he has so many responsibilities. People are abusing him. They're saying all kinds of things. Hey man, can you fulfill your deadline, etc. So he's like working like crazy, doing his deadlines, etc. But that does not deter him from the fact that once he goes home, he is going to watch the football match. So he is more happy, or he is more pleased in thinking about that football match, that he doesn't care about what's happening to him during his work time. So similarly, the devotee is also like that. So the devotee's happiness is in serving the Supreme Lord. So because of that, he doesn't really care about what's happening to him in this material world, because the satisfaction he derives from serving the Supreme Lord comes from inside. It doesn't come from any external thing. Now, this thing is very difficult to observe, like someone being not disturbed in amidst the threefold miseries, etc. But we do have some very, very good examples from the Shastra. Like if you read Srimad Bhagavatam, the best example is Prahlad Maharaj. So I'm sure all of you know about Lord Narasimhadev. We have a nice photo of Narasimhadev here. So Narasimhadev, Hiranyakashipu, who was a demon, he tortured his 5-year-old son Prahlad Maharaj. And while he was torturing his son Prahlad Maharaj, he tried to kill him in many different ways and tried to torture him in many different ways. But Prahlad Maharaj still remained a Sthitadhir Muni. Like he remained perfectly in trance and he remained perfectly happy without any sense of regret that, oh, why am I suffering like this, etc. A pure devotee of the Lord doesn't get disturbed by any external circumstances. We see some other examples, like Jesus Christ is also another example. And Jesus Christ was being crucified. You all know the story. He was being crucified. It's a very painful thing. Like if you have nails going through your arms and your legs, that can be very extremely painful. But still, what was he praying at the end while he was at the cross? He was saying, my Lord, please forgive them because they do not know what they do. So he was still praying to God for their welfare. So this is a very, very high, very, very elevated position to obtain. That even though one is being tortured physically, one does not care about anything that's happening to their body. They have transcended their body. They don't care about their bodily discomforts. So these kinds of people are continuously able to engage in devotional service. Now it is described that we did Nirjal Ekadashi yesterday. Some of us did it. And it is described that Jesus, after his initiation, he did fasting for 40 days and 40 nights in a desert. Now that might be extremely difficult for us to perform. Yeah, but yeah, he did that. So yeah, like there are devotees that are much greater than us, and apparently, like even up until a few years ago, even today, there are some devotees who perform every Ekadashi as Nirjal Ekadashi. So it's a thing actually to be not able to eat, drink, but at the same time maintain your focus on the Lord.